Hi friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about basically just workshopping. This isn't really a yoga class, but we're going to be workshopping forward folds and bigger bodies. So ways to modify to make room for yourself and ways to just kind of use props to help you get into these poses better. I really wanted to start this series because I see this lacking in studio classes. Teachers usually have a hard time cueing for the whole room. So as somebody with a bigger body, it's important that you know how to modify for yourself. You know how to do these poses for yourself, what works in your body, and kind of play around with it and just kind of make space for yourself. So you're going to be needing 2 blocks and a bolster. And again, this isn't a class, more just a little workshop of us figuring out how to do forward folds so that it's effective for opening the back of the body and it's effective for feeling comfortable in your body and feeling like you're getting the most out of the pose in your body. So let's begin. All right, let's get started. So I first want to start this little lecture off by saying the first step to finding a forward fold or any pose really in a bigger body is being confident that these poses are made for your body and being okay with taking up space. Taking up space in physicality and just in your personality, being yourself, being comfortable showing up at a studio and knowing how to modify for your body is very empowering, and it's what yoga is all about. So we're going to start off with just basic forward fold principles and how they are cued commonly. So usually feet under the hips, glutes and hamstrings engaged, hinge at the hips, core sucks in, fall forward. Some teachers will tell you belly button to spine, bend your knees. That's a great cue, but as somebody with a bigger body, bigger belly, when your belly hits your thighs, you could be all the way up here or here, and your hamstrings aren't really getting that engagement that that cue is looking for. So a good way to find the engagement in a bigger body is to bring your feet wider. Step 1. Try that out, see how that feels. You might be able to fold forward and be like, yeah, that feels really good in my body. And again, these techniques are all going to be different depending on where you're at, your hamstring flexibility, and just how it feels. Play around with it and figure out what feels best for you. So another tip when you're forward folding is to bend into your knees and then fold. And then once you're folded over, you can start to straighten your knees and kind of find that level where you feel that hamstring pull and stretch. So bending the knees and widening the feet are really going to help make forward folds accessible, particularly when you're in a vinyasa class and you're doing lots of up and downs, forward folding, lots of hinging. Even when you're in a seated forward fold, I'll demonstrate that in a moment. Those tips will help. So the next thing is grabbing your blocks. So there's a few settings on the blocks. These, you can go like this, up high like this, or flat like this. So when forward folding, if you're still like, okay, my feet are wide, my knees are bent, and when I do this, I still kind of struggle to get my hands all the way to the floor. So blocks at the flattest setting are really comfortable for me, or even that second setting, like that. You want to be able to have a nice long spine in order to access the back of the hamstrings and keep that nice stretch going instead of just like arching your back and it becoming an upper body stretch, right? So blocks on the second setting help, and you can also bring the blocks all the way up high. And if you're still like, still doesn't feel good, just bring your hands to your hips, feet wide, bend to the knees, and find an area like right here. I start to feel it in my hamstrings. This is a forward fold. You're feeling it, you're folding forward, you're nice and long in your spine, and the hamstrings are feeling that nice stretch. And to bring yourself all the way down to the ground, you can use your blocks. So that's kind of basic forward folding, the forward folds that we see a lot in a vinyasa. So let's do a seated forward fold now. Hello, welcome back. So we're going to be doing seated forward folds for bigger bodies now. So you can kind of see it, but I'm sitting on a pretty tall bolster. So the first tip for forward folding on an easy seat is bringing your hips higher. because your hips might be tighter, and it'll just give you more room to do this pose. Again, so we're going to start with our basics, feet wider. Even if it's a regular forward fold, feet wider is going to make it much more comfortable. You can also bend the knees and just fall forward this way and see how there's so much more room in your upper body for your upper body to kind of explore this fold, and you'll feel it more in the hips and hamstrings. You can also use your blocks here, place them in between the legs, and just kind of focusing on lengthening the spine as you fall forward, and see how that feels in the body. Again, your legs can be extended here as well. So again, maybe you don't need this bolster. Maybe it feels fine for you to sit on the floor. Once you're folding, you're like, oh, this is really uncomfortable on my belly. Like, this doesn't feel good. I'm not feeling anything in my hamstrings. Bring your feet wider. Bring your blocks in between you. Keep your spine nice and long, and then fold. And see the huge difference you're going to feel in those hamstrings. Also, don't be afraid to bend your knees. Bring them closer to the body and fold the body in between the legs. It's important that you find the pose that feels comfortable in your body, where you're still getting the benefits of the hamstring lengthening and the nice long spine. That's the goal for these poses, right? So I'm going to show you one more pose, and that's a child's pose, because I feel like this one is also not really cued with modifications. So we're going to move into child's pose next, if I can get my words out. All right, you're a little bit closer for me for this one, but now we're going to do child's pose. So a few things that are cute in child's pose is knees wide, big toes touching. Now this might be uncomfortable if you have bigger thighs or just a lot of junk in the trunk, which is a great thing. So what you might want to try is bringing your feet a little wider as well, giving your space that room for your thighs and your booty to move into. Another really nice adjustment here is bringing the bolster in between you and just giving yourself something to lay onto. It might be a lot harder for you to get your full body down to the mat. It might be more uncomfortable, especially trying to make room for your belly. So this is a great modification here. And you can even extend the arms above the head still. And you're still getting that lengthening of the spine and the compression of the hips, which is a big deal in forward folds, is getting those compressions of those hips. And then you can just relax into your bolster. Another great thing for these is have a towel here. You can use a towel, you can use a yoga blanket. You can fold it up nice and thick and kind of place it. I'm gonna go like that and place it right behind your knees. And as you're doing this pose, it provides just a little extra added cushion to make a little bit more space for the hips and thighs. Again, the wider the knees are, the more comfortable you're going to be here. And you can also bring the feet wide. It's not important that your big toes touch. It's just important that your spine is long and you're getting that bend in the hips and the nice opening here in the side hips and the thighs. So that's your child's pose in a bigger body. So that's it for our little workshop today. Those are the three main forward folds that I wanted to show you guys that I often don't see modified in a studio practice or just in a regular vinyasa practice. Remember to use your props. They are your friends. They're going to make these poses so much more comfortable and more accessible for you. Now, just to review, go back to the basics. 1, step your feet wider, see how it feels. 2, bend deeper into those knees and then straighten them and see how that feels. You're looking for that hamstring lengthening and the nice long spine. Those are the goals. Those are the 2 goals of this pose. If you're getting those, I think you're doing great. Use your props, your blocks. There's different ways to use them right here, like this, and then flat on the ground like that. I love my blocks. I always grab blocks no matter what kind of class it is. Bringing the floor up to you makes a lot of space for this front part of the body. I got big boobs, I got a belly, I got a big butt. I gotta make room for all that, right? So my props are my favorite. In any kind of class, I grab them. And a bolster under the hips when you're doing any seated forward fold is really gonna help you make that space in order to fall forward. Especially if you're like doing like a butterfly forward fold, that sometimes feels really good. Or just an easy seat or a fire log fold. I always grab a bolster because it feels really nice to elevate the hips, make space for yourself to be able to access that fold. So those are the basics. If you guys have any questions, feel free to message me, comment on this video. I'm going to be doing this for a few other different like pose variations. The next ones will be twists in bigger bodies, so I hope to see you then. Thanks, guys.